And we are now live.
Okay, let's begin. We'll start with our land acknowledgement, and that the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. The minutes were circulated. Are there any errors or omissions? No errors or omissions. In that case, could I have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved, sir.
Thank you
Second.
very much. And we need a seconder, please.
I'll second.
Yeah, thank you.
Lois.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'll take silence as consent. Any opposed? No. So the motion is carried. Approval of minutes. The order of business has been circulated as well. Are there any additions or deletions? No, none so being. Are there any members who'd like to move items? Okay. And we can have a motion then to approve the order of business.
I so move. Lois.
Thank you, Lois. Yeah. And we need a seconder, please.
Patrick,
Aye,
I'll
I'll
second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. None opposed. Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. Item 4, business arising out of the business arising out of the minutes shows none. And we're doing our call for declaration of conflicts of interest. If anyone has a conflict of interest, please turn off camera and mute themselves when the item is being discussed. Are there any declarations at this point in time? None so being. Deferred business is showing as none as item 6. And correspondence, petitions, and delegations, 7.1. Is there any correspondence from the clerk's office?
There have
lost
been no correspondence received in the clerk's office, Mr. Chair.
No correspondence at all?
No,
Thank you. Any petitions?
no
have they-
petitions
no
have been
petition?
received from the clerk's office as well.
Okay. And we have no presentations today.
Oh, we do have presentations from on the agenda.
It just showed none on the, sorry. Okay, and 8, information brought forward?
None.
None, okay. So we've come to reports, 9.1 staff report, case H00547. It's a request to include 60732 and 6034 Charles Street in the Registry of Heritage Properties for the Halifax Regional Municipality, and our staff member is Elizabeth Cushing.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you're looking at the last month's agenda, but this one is going to be 1206 Roby Street.
Oh, sorry, I am looking at the last one.
Not a problem.
Yeah,
I'll
my
just
mistake. Yeah, I had it in my file. That explains that. Okay, explains a couple of things here. Okay, yeah, it is for 1206 Roby Street. Oh, goodness.
go.
This is just
I will-
a request to include 1206 Roby Street, Halifax in the registry for the Halifax Regional Municipality.
Perfect.
And yes. Motion stated here is that the Heritage Advisory Committee recommends that Halifax Regional Council, 1, set a date for heritage hearing to consider the inclusion of the subject property in the Registry of Heritage Property for HRM, and 2, approve the request to include 1206 Roby Street, Halifax in the Registry of Heritage Property for the Halifax Regional Municipality as shown on map 1 of the staff report dated April 6, 2023 as a municipal heritage property under the Heritage Property Act.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll start. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
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 All right. So, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Elizabeth Cushing. I'm a heritage planner with the heritage team here with HRM, and I'll be presenting on 1206 Roby Street for their heritage registration request. The subject property is situated on the northwest corner of the Roby and South Streets intersection, bound on the west by Edward Street and north by University Avenue. So as a reminder, there are 6 categories for the registration evaluation criteria, each with a maximum score. So I will recommend a score for each criteria, and we'll pause after each one for HAC to discuss, and the score will be calculated of a possible 100. The subject property was originally part of the lands owned by Edward Shields, who was the superintendent of the Halifax Poor Asylum. Upon Shields' death, his executors subdivided his land into smaller parcels to accommodate the city's growing middle class. No structures are depicted on the property in an 1866 map of Halifax. However, in 1874, Shields' executors sold a portion of his property to John R. Richardson, who was a master carpenter and builder. Richardson is identified as living at the corner of Roby and South Streets as early as the McAlpine's 1875 to 1876 city directory, and the current wood frame structure is visible by Hopkins' 1878 map, which you can see here on the left. The Richardson family retained ownership of the property until 1920. Other notable tenants include Reverend George M. Ambrose of St. Luke's Cathedral, who resided here for 44 years. So with a construction date of circa 1875, the subject property is currently 148 years old. Staff recommend a score of 13 points for age.
Any discussion about that number? It sounds, oh, no one's opposed, so it sounds like it'll be fine.
Sounds great, thank you.
My only comment though is I agree it's 13, but I'm just kind of curious. If you look up back the scoring range, surprised that if you're at the older edge, you think it'd be a higher score versus that 1899 would be the lowest number. You got a range of 16, 13, and 9. You know, I would have thought that there would have been like if you're closer to 1868, you get a 15. If you're closer to 1899, you get a 10. You know, I'm just kind of curious why we have just a 1 number instead of a scale numbers based on the age range.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor, this is something that we are currently reassessing, and we're hoping to have a revised evaluation criteria for you promptly.
And that will give us a range.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks. Right, for architectural importance, 1206 Roby Street can be described as a vernacular cottage with elements of various architectural styles that were popular from the mid to late 19th century. This includes Gothic Revival, Italianate, and Classical Revival. So vernacular houses were designed to display local traditions and were built using local materials. They vary from region to region and create a distinctive landscape. In 1864, the Canada Farmer newspaper promoted a Gothic cottage which was designed for a small family. The exterior featured a center gable with a pointed or semicircular window, symmetrical facade with 2 brick chimneys on either side, windows with decorative molding, and main entrance with transom and side lights. This is visible at the bottom center of the screen. 1206 Roby Street may have been inspired by the Canada Farmer's Gothic cottage and represents a localized version of the design. The combination of a center-pitched roof, typically found in Gothic Revival-style homes, combined with 5-sided Scottish dormers and a storm porch, is an example of vernacular architecture that's unique to Halifax. 1206 Roby Street provides a high level of craftsmanship, as evidenced by the detailed woodwork. Similar design structures can be found throughout the urban core of Halifax and Dartmouth, including the registered properties at 1029 Tower Road, which was constructed in 1873, and 1317 Dresden Row, which was circa 1860. There's also another similar designed property at 5283 South Street. So although some of these structures predate the Canada Farmer Gothic cottage, it shows an evolution of design preferences over the years. So as a highly representative example of Halifax's mid to late 19th century vernacular design, staff recommend a score of 16 to 20.
One thing I do remember about this house until the last paint job, the street sign was attached to the house itself, which was kind of unique in the city.
Mhm.
So we're 16 to 20. Is there any input as to where people think this house should fall in that range? It is unique.
I give it at least an 18, at least.
Mhm. Definitely towards the top end.
I
And
think
yeah.
a 19, Lois.
Okay.
This is
Anyone
Patrick.
else?
This is Patrick. I support a 19 as well.
Do we have agreement on 19 then?
I'd agree with 19 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
go with 19. Thank you.
Great, thank you. For significance of architect / builder, 1206 Roby Street was built by John R. Richardson, who also was the first resident of the house. There is minimal documentation to confirm additional buildings that Richardson had contributed to in Halifax, but it is likely that he, as a master carpenter, or his father Robert, who also was a carpenter, contributed to other similar design vernacular cottages from this time frame. So as Richardson undoubtedly had an impact on local architecture in mid to late 19th century Halifax, staff recommend a score of 1 to 3.
So this architecture is pretty much unique to Halifax itself.
Lois here, I would suggest a 3, particularly because we can never pin significance on an architect or builder. And here we are with a builder and master carpenter.
Mhm.
3.
Yeah, I agree with 3. Anyone else?
I concur.
Okay.
I support 3 as well.
Okay.
I do as well, Patrick.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. So we'll go forward with 3 for locally significant.
Sounds great, thank you. For architectural merit, for construction type, 1206 Roby Street was constructed using timber framing, which joined large pieces of wood together with joints using mortise and tenon construction. This is a type of joint that is made up of a peg or a tenon and a hole or slot mortise that fit together to connect 2 pieces of wood. Most 19th to early 20th century construction methods are becoming less common in Halifax as construction methods have changed. So staff recommend a score between 7 and 10 points.
I would say a 9 or a 10. That looks rare.
Let's just make maybe I support 9. Yeah.
Anyone else?
I support a 9. You're right. The wood pegs and everything else. It's amazing. It's still standing.
Yeah, it is. So we, if we have agreement, we'll go with a 9 on that.
Great, thank you. 1206 Roby Street was designed in the vernacular cottage style to display local traditions and materials. 1206 Roby Street displays a unique local version of vernacular architecture, and although there are other similar designs cottages found throughout the urban core of Halifax and Dartmouth, 1206 Roby Street has a high level of integrity and a high level of craftsmanship, which is evidenced by the long list of character-defining elements. So some of those that you see on the screen before you include the vernacular 1.5-story cottage with rectangular plan, medium gable side roof with molded returned eaves, center gable roof on the east elevation with molded trim, returned eaves, and semicircular 4-paned window, 3-pane basement windows with granite log sills, storm porch with wood panels, pilasters, brackets, and 2/2 windows, metal curved staircase leading to the storm porch, and the minimal setback from the street. So as a moderately rare example of a mid to late 19th century vernacular cottage, staff recommend a score of 4 to 6.
How do we feel about that?
Are there more pictures to demonstrate all those features? Like, I saw just a couple so far up close, the staircase and stuff like that. Just
Through you, Mr. Chair, there's a photo here of the rear of the property. So it shows another set of Scottish dormers here. This provides some more context for the surrounding area. That would be the majority of the photos in the PowerPoint.
Would the circular or semicircular metal staircase have been part of the original construction?
To you, Mr. Chair, yes, I believe so.
Okay,
seem
I'm just
to-
wondering.
That seems to be pretty common for houses constructed of this era that are that close to the street.
Okay, thank you. And suggestions for numbers?
I'm comfortable with the 6.
I am as
I'll
well.
say 6 as well.
I am
Yeah.
too.
I mean, with 6 sounds great. Thank you.
Great, thanks. 1206 Roby Street has a high level of architectural integrity. This historical image was uncovered after publication of our report. Although it does not change the analysis outcome of our report, it does confirm that the structure has changed quite minimally over time. The only visible modifications to the exterior have been the partial facing of the foundation with brick where the storm porch is, and a shed dormer at the rear of the building, which we saw. There is an exterior door on the west elevation that has also been replaced. Otherwise, there are no major modifications or additions. So the alterations to 1206 Roby Street are minimal, and as such, staff recommend a score of 11 to 15 points.
Input from the committee, please.
And that would go for 13. That's my suggestion.
13 or 14. It's one of my favorite homes in the city.
It's very, very distinctive.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very.
What would have been the original shingles back then? Slate shingles or wooden shingles on the roof? Just curious to see if we have tar shingles there.
3, Mr. Chair, the councillor, it likely would have been cedar, I would believe.
In that era.
Slate or slate.
Mhm.
It is a bit, yeah.
I'm okay with the 13.
So we have 13
Yeah.
and 14 on the table. Does anyone feel strongly one way or the other?
I'm going to say 13 as well.
Okay,
I'd support 13 too.
I go with 13.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with 13. Thank you.
Great, thank you. In terms of the building's relationship to the surrounding area, it stands out in the streetscape as one of the oldest structures in the block of Roby Street. It also stands out for its vernacular cottage design, whereas the majority of the buildings in this block of Roby Street are a Halifax box with minimal decoration. So in tandem with its location at a prominent intersection of Roby and South Streets, 1206 Roby Street serves as a landmark in the streetscape. As such, staff recommend a score of 6 to 10 points.
I would personally think 9, because as soon as you gave the address, I knew exactly where it was. It stands out. Anyone else?
I would agree.
Mhm.
A pivot.
I supported 9, but I'm getting a little nervous about that big tree in front. It just seems to distract from it or could damage it someday
Yeah.
soon.
A lot of trees like that in the city. Yeah.
I'd support
Anyone
a 9
else?
as well.
Yeah, I think I support 9.
Okay, well, if 9 is acceptable, we'll go forward with that number.
Thanks. So the recommendation before you today is on the screen in front of you.
I believe the total is 72.
Yes, 72.
Wonderful. Right. Thank you very much.
So we'll need a motion on that.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we'll need a mover and a
Yeah.
seconder for the
Yeah,
motion.
someone like to move that, please?
Okay, I, Azuka, I'm moving the motion.
Thank you. And a seconder, please.
I can second that as David Patterson.
Thank you, David. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Affirmative.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have none. Thank you. Motion is passed. I'm a little disadvantaged on the next one because Dorothy sent me an update on this, and I just came in the door before this meeting. And I think there may be some small changes to 9.1.2. So Dorothy, correct me as I go. The one I have, I downloaded yesterday, is case H00552, deregistration of parcel RL1, PID 410-27079, Old Sackville Road, Middle Sackville.
Yep, that's good.
And who'll be speaking to that?
That is Carter.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And I'll just put the motion in the chat for you.
Thanks.
Carter, you can go ahead.
Sure. Hopefully you can all see my screen.
Yes, we see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. So good afternoon to the chair and members of the Heritage Advisory Committee. My name is Carter Beaupré-McPhee, Heritage Planning Researcher for HRM's Heritage Property Program. Staff are pleased to bring before the committee case H00552, the deregistration application for parcel RL-1, Old Sackville Road, Middle Sackville. On September 29th, 2022, Regional Council initiated a report to deregister PID 410-27079, Old Sackville Road, Middle Sackville, also known as parcel RL-1, shown here in red. Parcel RL-1 is a remainder parcel consisting of undeveloped lands and is located adjacent to Lot A, which contains St. John's Anglican Church, St. John's Cemetery, and St. John's Church Hall. Some brief historical background about the nearby church and cemetery at 954 Old Sackville Road. St. John's Anglican Church was constructed in 1829 by builders William Fultz, Thomas Hamilton, and Francis Robinson to replace the old church, which was built circa 1806, which was destroyed by fire on November 10th, 1828. The present church was consecrated in 1830 by Charles Inglis, Nova Scotia's first Anglican bishop. The church was is an excellent example of the Georgian style as expressed in ecclesiastical architecture. St. John's Anglican Church was attended by many of the most prominent families of Sackville's history, including Dr. George Lawson and his family, who established the first agricultural experimental farm in Canada on their Sackville property known as Lucy Field, which was located immediately to the west of the church, opposite the top of First Street. St. John's Cemetery, located to the rear of the church, predates the church by a significant margin. Its tombstones bear dates as early as 1790. Many of those prominent local families are buried in the cemetery, including the Fultz, Robinson, Fenerty, Patton, Peveril, Schultz, and Hamilton families, as well as at least 16 members of the Uniacke family. Next, we have a brief summary of the staff report for this deregistration. The property at 934 to 954 Old Sackville Road, Middle Sackville, has been a municipally registered heritage property since 1997. The property owner subdivided the property in 2022, which was formerly known as parcel E-1-D, creating Lot A and a remainder parcel, parcel RL-1. Lot A contains the church, cemetery, and the church hall, highlighted here by the blue arrows, while parcel RL-1, located to the south and highlighted by the red arrow, consists of vacant land. As the heritage registration applied to the former parcel E-1-D, both Lot A and parcel RL-1 retain their heritage designation. The continued registration of parcel RL-1 is unnecessary as all the heritage value and/or character defining elements of the site are located entirely within Lot A, including the church and cemetery. Lot A will remain a registered heritage property, even if parcel RL-1 is deregistered. Thus, staff advise that parcel RL-1 be deregistered pursuant to section 16(1)(b) of the Heritage Property Act, which allows for deregistration where continued registration of a property is inappropriate as a result of the loss of a property's heritage value. The recommendations are now before the committee for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Carter. So it's recommended that the Heritage Advisory Committee recommend that council, 1, commence the deregulation process by setting a date for a public hearing to consider deregistering the municipally registered heritage property known and designated as parcel RL1. It's PD 410270779 on attachment A, and deregister the property known as that same number as shown as parcel RL1 on attachment A. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question before we put the motion on the floor? Has been any archaeological survey of the property to assess there's been any other, no other remnant graves or cemeteries off that property? Or I'm not sure what the intentions may be. Maybe down the road looks like subdivision development, but just kind of curious if they come across any artifacts of any sort after the deregistration. If they come across any artifacts of any sort of significance, either be it early settlers or maybe in First Nations, what archaeological halts are there to any development of the site?
Through the chair to the committee member, to the best of my knowledge, there was studies performed to ensure that there were no graves on the land, because the land was simply reserved as vacant land, and the graveyard is very clearly defined, and the grave, like, there are church records indicating where the graves are. As far as any potential archaeological discoveries relating to Mi'kmaq heritage, I can't necessarily speak to that. Aaron may wish to chime in.
I can speak to that, Mr. Chair, if you would like.
Yes, please do.
Aaron Murnahan, Principal Heritage Planner. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong camera here.
Now we got you.
What were you eating?
What's that? I've got 2 cameras plugged in here. My apologies. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the councillor. So the province has complete jurisdiction over archaeological finds in the province. The municipality has no jurisdiction, but what we do when there is applications for new development, we pass those along to the Special Places Program Coordinator at the province, and they determine, based on their mapping, whether there's any known archaeological importance in the area. And they would require an archaeological assessment if that were the case, but it is completely to their discretion. As with any property owner in the province, if they were to find archaeological artifacts, they need to contact the province, and the province would send someone in.
So it's incumbent upon them to self-report.
That's correct.
Okay. No, I was actually just thinking of the Oak Island Gold situation where they came across indigenous items and everything stopped. They had self-reported. Any other questions regarding this or further discussion? Well, none so being, can we have a motion, please, from the floor?
So I'm happy with that.
What was that, Lois?
I was going to move, but somebody else, I think, beat me by a nanosecond.
Oh.
Go right ahead.
I so move.
It's yours, Lois. Okay. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Pam. Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? None so being, motion is passed. Next item, committee member updates. And we have an in-person meeting coming up. Dorothy, just give us the details on that again, please.
Okay, sure. I circulated an email to everyone, and I think the date that works for everyone is June 14th at 3 p.m. And the venue will be the Harbor East Marine Drive Community Center, it's called.
Okay,
It's
Harbor
on
East.
60 Albany Drive.
Community Council Chamber. Community Council
Yes.
Chambers at Albany Landing.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Thank you. So we'll actually be meeting live for a change. Does anyone have any problems with that? It seems everyone could make that meeting. That seemed Dorothy did a good job just polling everybody. Any added items? None so being. So our next meeting is live, May the 24th at Alderley Landing.
We can take the ferry.
We can take the ferry. That's right. A sea cruise and a meeting. What more would you want?
Mr. Chair, the in-person meeting is June 14th. The main one is still virtual.
Oh,
So-
yes.
We still have the main meeting here.
I see what I did now. My mistake. Yeah. Yeah, all time. Oh, great. A live meeting. Yeah, that's not for 2 months.
So the
Okay, so May the
24th
24th, we are virtual again.
Online, okay.
And June the 14th will be at Albany. Thank you, Dorothy. Just so happy to have a live meeting. I just jumped the gun. Really, get tired of Zoom. Can I have a motion to adjourn now that we've solved that problem?
So move, sir.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconder?
I second.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great evening.
Have a
Thank you,
pleasant
Mr.
day.
Chair.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye, Dorothy. Bye.